Okay, so welcome back to another Silent Hill 2 stream. Uh, Tonight we're going to be getting into Woodside Apartments and everything there, from Pyramid Head to sheet music to Laura and Eddie and other things to talk about with the music. Um, that's something that I'll make sure I have at the ready. Um, but yeah, a lot to talk about. Hoping to get through all of Woodside tonight so that we can start next stream in Blue Creek. But we shall see. Okay. Where is the video that I was just looking for? Hold on. There we go.
Elizabeth.
Oh, hold on. Whoops. Sorry about that. Oh, I wonder if anyone heard the beginning of that and recognized what it is. But yeah, there's some stuff that I want to talk about with the music tonight that uh, may get more into the sampling side of the discussion when it comes to Akira Yamaoka's music, and there's a video on YouTube that I kind of want to bring up to talk about that stuff. But we'll see what happens and where the spirit takes us tonight. And let's get back into it. So, last time we got to Woodside Apartments. For those of you joining for the first time for one of my streams, first of all, again, welcome. Um, but this is the third of the streams of my Silent Hill 2 playthrough where I am focusing on the Stillness ending. It's one of the new endings that was added to the Silent Hill 2 remake by Bloober Team. I have only watched it once, so I'm hoping that I can have I'm interested to see how watching the ending in the context of playing this playthrough of the game will affect my feelings about it. I won't say anything about those feelings right now because, yeah, for obvious reasons. Um, but one of the notable things about the Stillness ending is you have to get the in-water ending first. And so not only I think a lot of people playing the Silent Hill 2 remake have noticed how there have been a lot of ways where Bloober Team has kind of made it almost like a sequel to the original Silent Hill 2. And I think the Stillness ending in particular, is really interesting to think of as a sequel to the In Water ending. If you need to get that before you can do the stuff, before you get access to the stuff for the Stillness ending in the New Game Plus. Here's my big spoiler warning at the beginning of every stream. I am doing a full spoiler playthrough because there's stuff that I want to talk about that I just can't if we're holding on to the spoiler stuff. So if you have never played the game before and want to experience the story yourself for the first time, I will give you a moment or two to depart the stream. I'm going to take a drink of water. Important to stay hydrated when you're feeling sick. Okay. Anyone who's still here, get prepared for spoilers. So, as we all know, I assume, the big plot twist of the game is James Sunderland killed his wife, Mary. She was sick for 3 years, and at the end of that sickness, she came home because the doctors knew that she didn't have much longer, and I guess they wanted her to be able to go home for a little bit before she passed away. And while she was home, James ended up smothering her with a pillow. And his reasons for doing that are complicated, particularly depending on what ending you get. But at the beginning of the game, he has forgotten this. He has basically suffered uh, a, a break, psychogenic amnesia, and so all he knows is that he's received a letter from Mary, and that it says that she's waiting for him in Silent Hill, and so he goes there. And we've met Angela, who is a disturbed teenager. We've met, I think she's actually the only one we've met so far because two of the other characters we're meeting here, Eddie and Laura. But now that we've gotten to Woodside, I ended last stream with this note, and I'm going to start this one with it because, again, I think it's really interesting to look at this playthrough as a sequel to the In Water ending, working towards the Stillness ending. And this note here is only available to you on New Game Plus if you've gotten the In Water ending and potentially want to get the Stillness ending. So I'm going to start the stream off with it again. Why has 201 not been rented out for so long? There have been so many years since anyone lived there. I know they've never really checked out, but I think it's time to move on now. They're gone. And then we've got an arrow and 3, which is interesting because it is not stylized like a less than 3 heart symbol, but I almost wonder if they were thinking about that when they made it. It is not just there for looks. It is part of a code that we'll need later for part of the Stillness ending. Yeah, when I read this at the end of last stream, it was my first time reading this note, and I really appreciate that, like, even after having played the original, having played the remake a few times, this hit me emotionally. First of all, 201 is the room that we are ultimately going to end, hopefully end tonight's session at, because it's where you have to solve this puzzle to get the key for. And we'll talk more about 201 when we get there, but there is significance to that note saying, why is anyone still there? Which actually, it echoes one of the notes in the hotel, I think, that you can get even on the first playthrough, where it says, like, we got to clear out room 312. That's a room with that Mary and James stayed in. And has a similar note where it's like, clear it out, no one's coming back. I don't know if that's directly the reference they were trying to make, but all of it is just so very interesting. So anyway, here's the puzzle that we have to solve for Woodside Apartments. The coin puzzle. And I'll have a lot to say about this when we actually get all the pieces and are able to solve it. A lot of really cool imagery here. 3 bright coins in the 5 holes be. First sits the maiden underneath the tree. The wind from behind the maiden doth blow. A beautiful flower alone has to grow. And here comes the man, so sleek and so fine. In the pale moonlight his eyes doth shine. So, it's basically saying to us, hey, you got to get 3 coins for this puzzle. They're going to end up in 3 of the 5 holes down here. And then it'll go from there. They've definitely made the puzzle more complex for the remake, but this is a puzzle that was in the original classic puzzle. One of the things that Cleo and I were talking about in our email chain, our never-ending email chain about this game, was some of the structural changes that they made to the game when they adapted it into the remake. Particularly, there is a kind of formula that Bloober Team settled into for uh, the remake, where each location kind of has a main puzzle that you have to solve, and everything kind of revolves around that. And so it does kind of start to feel potentially a little more video gamey after a certain period of time, whereas the original Silent Hill 2 potentially feels a little bit more organic in the way that those things develop. But I don't think it's not. If it's a criticism, it's not a huge criticism I have of the new game, because also it's like it's drawing that line between how much of this do we want to feel just like realism and how much do we want it to be a game, and entertainment. All right. Dear Madam, in response to your complaint regarding the gunshots coming from apartment 217, we have paid a visit to the tenant, and he assured us that he does not own any firearms. He was fully cooperative and granted us access to the apartment. True to his words, we did not find any weapons or traces of using one. Should the noises persist, please inform the janitor. Sincerely, Woodside Apartments Administration. Now, anyone who's played this game knows that we get to 217. First of all, 217 is where we're getting our first firearm. James dutifully drawing it on the map. But you get to 217, and the walls are littered with gunshot holes, so it's like, what are they even talking about? But, as we all know, not everyone sees the same things in Silent Hill. It'll become more apparent later on in the game, but Angela's version of Silent Hill that she sees isn't necessarily the same thing that James sees, nor is it the same thing that Eddie sees. And there's a lot of evidence in the game to suggest that characters are seeing different things. Laura, when we meet her, isn't seeing the same thing. Masahiro Ito, I think, specifically called out in like a tweet how Laura doesn't see any of the monsters because she's innocent of any of the guilt and grief that the adult characters have, and so she's basically just wandering around Silent Hill and like sees it for a regular town, whatever that may mean, depending on your interpretation of the game. And here's another little moment where I was just like, what a beautiful little bit of environment. The environmental details that Bloober Team put into this game are just incredible.
Hello? Is anyone there?
So who do we think that is? It could be just one of the monsters. I'm inclined to think it might be Pyramid Head, because we also heard similar like movement noises back in Saul Apartments that I initially didn't know what to make of, and then Cleo actually pointed out it's probably Pyramid Head. I'm like, you know what, that may be true. Like they're kind of seeding the references to him earlier in the game. Let's run up the stairs really quick because I think third floor door is locked, so might as well come up here and get any items that are left up here. Yeah. But yeah, there are going to be a few moments in Woodside. I mean, there's going to be moments throughout the game, but definitely here in Woodside, there are going to be a few moments where I'm just going to want to stop and appreciate the environment. Alright, so we've got our map, we've got locked door, we don't have that key yet. 201 to 203. Well, or it might just be the sound of the mannequin that we're about to meet. Like, that's cool, being able to look out the window at stuff. Alright. Very quickly, I'm gonna go to the end of the hallway first. So, 201, this is our ultimate goal. And this is also the place that that note in the front office referenced. No one's lived there for years, I think it said. And here we have our flashlight. Cleo pointed out in her playthrough that like the walls have flowers on them, which is, connect to like the flowers in Mary's dress. Might have just been a coincidence, might have been a direct choice. This is the sort of game where it is hard sometimes to figure out where to draw the line between coincidence and intentionality, because there's so many things that they do with intentionality. And also, you can kind of see the mannequin here before it triggers. But yeah, a lot of that stuff too, it can go either way, and I think it's fine. You are not beholden to any one interpretation of any piece of art. So let's get our flashlight, rotate it very slightly with a limited rotation movement. Actually, this one you can move a little bit more. Why am I wasting time on this? Hey! Oh! Up! I gotta remember how to play this game. Come on. Oh, don't you go... There we go. Up. Come on. Oh, you dodged! Yeah, press R3 to toggle flashlight. One of the things that I've found is that in the heat of battle, it is very easy for me to accidentally toggle the flashlight by pressing too hard on R3. So, I will try to be careful about that. More conscientious about it.
These clothes.
They're Mary's clothes. What are they doing here? Here's the key. What's the key doing here? To the shoot courtyard. Alright. So right now, as you'll notice, no music. No real ambient noises. And that's something that Akira Yamaoka was specifically good about in the original Silent Hill 2, is like he very much he talked a little bit about it in the interview I referenced last stream, how he really approached the music and the sound design from the perspective of like, okay, how do we create a feeling of tension, a feeling of horror, and sometimes that's having complete silence only for it to be interrupted by noise. And it is those moments of silence that really accentuate things sometimes. What are you looking up at, James? Are you just in pain? You're probably just in pain. I don't feel like using a health drink yet. Alright. If there's anything that anyone wants me to specifically talk about as I'm doing this playthrough, please feel free to say something or ask a question. Because there's a lot to talk about, and I won't know exactly what people want to hear unless people say something. I also realized that my notes are not in the optimal position for me to reference them, so I'm going to fix that really quick. Okay, there we go. I just caught a glimpse of the quote that I had from last time where Akira Yamaoka said, it is the lack of sound that impresses humans more than beautiful music. And he definitely explored that philosophy to its fullest in the Silent Hill games. And this is just another gorgeous environment that I wanted to take a moment to appreciate. The fog, the decrepit apartment buildings. I love it. It's my jam. It's why I keep coming back to these games, stuff like this. Alright, over here we've got the garbage chute, where we'll be getting another one of the coins for the coin puzzle. This door is locked. I always like to explore the bounds of a location before moving on to where I need to go. Classic gamer logic. What do we got here? Yard sale. Cluttered house, cluttered mind. Interesting. Have to go to bed, but I'll watch the rest of the stream on tomorrow. Good night to you all. Good night, Ursa. Thank you for stopping by. It's good to have you. Yeah. Cluttered house, cluttered mind. Oh, I got a clearer look at it. Get rid of unnecessary baggage. Forget about the mess. Bring everything and anything. I mean, metaphor. What could be clearer? Get rid of your unnecessary baggage, James. Just get all this stuff off your chest. Double meanings abound. Okay, I think I am gonna take a health potion. Just to quiet James down. Oh! Okay, so here's where we're gonna have our first big diversion. I've got a nice drone in the background musically. Grabbing our ammo. Again, I'm gonna explore all the other stuff in this room before I get to the note that's on that table. Because I don't know how long we're going to spend on that note. It may end up being a bit. But here we get our first reference to the infamous Walter Sullivan. Locaine siblings murder. Perpetrator commits suicide in custody. Walter Sullivan, the culprit in a recent homicide case, was found dead, having taken his own life on the morning of the 22nd in his jail cell. According to the police statement, Sullivan's death was caused by blood loss, resulting from severing his carotid artery with a soup spoon buried 2 inches in his neck. Sullivan was apprehended on the 18th of this month on account of brutally murdering Billy and Miriam Locaine. Even though Walter Sullivan did not strike a former schoolmate from his hometown of Pleasant River as someone capable of murdering children, the schoolmate admits to having witnessed Sullivan in a state of severe paranoia shortly before his arrest. He was blurting out all sorts of strange stuff like, "He's trying to kill me. He's trying to punish me. The monster. The Red Devil. Forgive me. I did it, but it wasn't me," he recounts. I guess now that I think of it, he was kind of crazy, the schoolmate concludes. Hey, I'm not a mimic. Welcome to the stream. So, let's talk about Walter Sullivan and Silent Hill 4. First of all, this note was in the original Silent Hill 2. Before they had any conceptions about making Silent Hill 4. So it served a function in this narrative without it being a connection to another game. My reasoning was always, one, Walter Sullivan is another killer. The same way that James and Angela and Eddie are all killers and their stories connect and diverge and reflect each other in ways. Walter Sullivan is another rehearsal of that. Of hey, this is an example of someone who has killed people. If this game in some ways is an examination of the reasons that people kill or the types of people that kill, then Walter Sullivan is just another example of that they are using to explore that concept. Um, all the information that we get about him here tells us that he apparently killed a couple of kids. It just says recent homicide case. He took his own life in a jail cell, and according to his quote here, um, it almost seems like he was possessed, or he killed the children under duress, perhaps. Um, anyone who has played Silent Hill 4 knows that Walter Sullivan's story is quite a bit different from what we read here. In Silent Hill 4, which I may be playing in a future stream once we finish up Silent Hill 2, so I don't want to spoil too much about it. But in Silent Hill 4, Walter Sullivan is the main antagonist, as it were. He is a serial killer, and you hear radio stories and read notes about the various people that he's killed. He carves strange numbers into their flesh, and at the beginning of the game, you are trapped in your apartment, and you see a note written seemingly in blood, probably in blood, on the front door that says, "Don't go out, Walter." And so it could be, it seems like, oh, Walter wrote that note for you, perhaps. I'm trying to figure out how much I want to actually say about that story, because if I do play it on stream, I don't know how much I want to spoil. But yeah, when I read this playing the original Silent Hill 2, I assumed the monster, the Red Devil, was referring to Pyramid Head. And I think that may have even been the intention when they originally wrote it, because they didn't have any ideas about Silent Hill 4. According to the lore of Silent Hill 4, the Red Devil is actually not Pyramid Head. It is a reference to a member of the Order, the cult in Silent Hill. And I honestly, like, there's a part of me that's like, I don't know how much deeper I want to get into that, if I don't want to spoil things for Silent Hill 4. But also, there's a lot of lore from Silent Hill 4 that I just don't remember or haven't dove deep into yet. So I also don't want to misspeak. But yeah, it's interesting because, again, the way I initially took this story when I first read it in Silent Hill 2 was like Walter Sullivan, it almost seemed like a man possessed. Like, he killed these two kids, but he isn't even sure why he did it. Or it was like he was forced to do it, either by a person externally, or he almost, like, I wondered if he was possessed by some creature or spirit like Pyramid Head or something. Which, possession, there are a few things in Silent Hill lore that touch on possession, but isn't a huge element of Silent Hill lore, if I'm remembering correctly. I might be blanking on stuff. The other thing I'll say about Walter Sullivan is, it says here that he was found dead, having taken his own life on the morning of the 22nd in his jail cell. That may or may not be quite accurate according to the lore of Silent Hill 4. But that is something specifically that I want to not get too deep into. All that said, I think I don't think any of the stuff in Silent Hill 4 invalidates this, the way that this article is written. I don't think that they should have, like, edited it or anything based on or retconned it for the remake or something like that. I think this still functions as like, oh, well, this is the version of the story that we're getting from the police. But, as we learn in Silent Hill 4, it isn't the whole story. So yeah, that is Walter Sullivan. And if anyone has any other questions about his story, definitely let me know. Because Silent Hill 4 gets a bad rap for having some poor like game design decisions, but honestly, it's got one of the most like interesting and creative stories of the original four Silent Hill games. Um, Maybe not quite as emotionally resonant as something like Silent Hill 2, but very, very fascinating. And we got bugs! Ah! Hopefully I didn't just blow out your ears. Okay. Now, let's continue our journey. This door is blocked. Okay. Gotta keep an eye out for mannequins. Oop. Okay. Also, for anyone who didn't watch the previous streams, I am doing a no radio run to try and get the achievement for that. So, if you're wondering why we aren't getting any of the radio static when creatures are nearby, it's because I turned it off. Ah! Damn it. Ah, come on. There we go. Ah, there's a flashlight mistake. Ah. Come on. Oh my gosh. There we go. Is this where there's a note? There's a note about an elderly couple in one of these apartments that I definitely don't want to miss, but I think I remember where it is from watching Cleo's playthrough. I've been getting little sneak peeks of Cleo's playthrough, both as a way to prepare for my own, but also as part of our correspondence. Okay. What are we looking at? Okay. Yeah, going around the corner here. And here we are about to get our first appearance of Laura. And this allows us to travel more quickly between areas now that we've got that unlocked.
Hey! Wait!
I can't remember how much I've talked about this on stream, but I have always very much seen Laura as a I feel like part of the intention behind Laura's design as a character was kind of as a response to the design of Alessa in the original Silent Hill, and sort of like a pump fake for people who played the original Silent Hill, where it's like, oh, we've got another little girl character in a horror game. I'm sure she's gonna be like the key to everything, or like be tied to the cult or something like that. And it's like, no, that you're thinking of Alessa. Laura is quite the opposite of Alessa. She is not broody at all. She's kind of a brat, and she's blonde, whereas Alessa has dark hair. Like, Laura is very much just like a normal kid, and I kind of love comparing her to Alessa in that way, in the contrast. Um, but yeah, so another little bit of like environment, or I never want to just throw the phrase environmental storytelling around, but So we got Laura stepping on her hand and kicking the key away, and then as we were walking out here, we heard some noises, and those noises were there to indicate to us that, oh, Laura has now opened this door that was locked before. So we can now go down this way and get that key that we were just looking at. Doors, doors, doors. Sounds like we got creatures coming up. Aha, open doorway. Check your corners. Check for mannequins. Store's locked, right? Okay. I know there's at least one mannequin in this apartment. I think there's two. Because I remember seeing Cleo get rocked by the two of them in her playthrough. Oh no, this is a different one. Okay. So this was something that I actually wanted to talk about. Like there are a bunch of different Apple things in this game. And this is the first of them, I think. So a couple things to talk about here. One, we got a golden apple handle, which there are Apple references in this game that I feel like are references to Adam and Eve and like the forbidden fruit of the Garden of Eden. This one, excuse me, I was actually wondering if it was meant to be like a reference to Helen of Troy and the apple that Paris is given to decide whom of the three Greek goddesses, was it Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena, that they were like, oh, give the golden apple to the one who is most beautiful. And I think he gives it to Aphrodite. Man, it's been such a long time since I've actually dug into Greek mythology, and it's all the rage on Tumblr. I am sure someone in the comments is going to embarrass me about my lack of memory. And that might not have even been like specifically a golden apple. It might have just been an apple. But we've also got this dress here, which some people think is a wedding dress. Some people think it's something more than a wedding dress. Some people even think that it might be a reference to the final boss from the original Silent Hill, the Incubator, I think, is one version of the final boss, who is like an angelic character with that is kind of wearing a white dress. Is that Heather's? No, for a second I thought that might be Heather's zip-up vest from Silent Hill 3, but it's not quite. Yeah, honestly, I think this is mostly supposed to evoke like wedding dress, like James and Mary, that sort of thing. Ah, thank you, Amat Yoltaire. Yes, he gives it to Aphrodite because she promises him Helen. That's right. And it was a golden apple, I believe. Cool. So yeah, not only do they have a bunch of Christian references, or religious references in this game, they also have references to mythology and such. They really do like pulling from a bunch of different resources and influences for these games. Okay, so we did that. Now we're going around the corner to get the key that Laura so rudely kicked away from us, so we can open up the rest of the second floor. And we've got this little apartment here. So this apartment is a new addition to the game, as far as I can tell. I don't remember it from the original game. Maybe there was a similar apartment, but I've had so many different thoughts about this. Initially, I thought, oh, maybe it's supposed to have been Laura's apartment, and that's why we see her like run out of it. Or maybe it was Cleo talks about how maybe it was the apartment of the janitor referenced in the puzzle from uh, East South Vale, the first section of the game, because of the records and the music and stuff. We got that Locket record again. Um, and we're going to talk about the sheet music, but once again, that's going to be a talking point, so I want to try and explore the rest of the apartment first. You also get the first of our Laura drawings.
Huh. Quite the artist.
There are a bunch of these throughout the game, and you get the general impression that, like, if you're paying attention, you get the general impression that the rabbit is meant to represent Laura herself, and then the other creatures that you see are meant to represent other characters. In this case, I think the dog on the left side of the river there could potentially be Mary. I think that's meant to be a dog with the floppy ears and the whiskers, and it looks very sad, so wouldn't be surprised if it was Mary. Laura, again, if you've played the game, you know she has a relationship with Mary. This is the first time I'm seeing that there's a river between them, though. I wonder if that's meant to be symbolic. I mean, it's got to be symbolic. Like either Mary's on the other side of the river of death. Maybe more Greek references. The river Styx. Who can say? Do we got? Oh, and we've got more. Oh, and this is the... Or maybe it is just supposed to be another rabbit. And the ears are droopy because they're sad. I kind of got dog vibes because it looks like there's a spot over the eye, but it may just be a couple rabbits. And this is the couple of rabbits being happy. And one of them is clearly bigger than the other one. Oh, maybe the smaller rabbit is supposed to be Laura. And the bigger one's supposed to be Mary. Because you kind of get the vibes from this one. Like I think Cleo talked about this too, or will talk about this in her video. If you imagine these as Mary and Laura, like Mary talks about how she always wanted a daughter, and if she had gotten better, she would have wanted to adopt Laura. So this is almost like a vision of that life, perhaps, which is very sweet and very sad. This bathroom doesn't look like it. Okay, let's talk about the sheet music. We've got a piano here, and we've got a scrap of sheet music. So first of all, before we even get into what's on the page here, I kind of took this again when I first walked into it in the remake, and I thought like, oh, maybe this is Laura's apartment. I thought, oh, maybe they are taking the title of one of the tracks from the original soundtrack, Laura Plays the Piano, very literally. Maybe she was learning to play piano, and this is supposed to be kind of an indicator of it. Like, there are three pieces of sheet music that you find throughout the game, and I sort of took that as a reference to like, oh, maybe Laura is like taking piano lessons, learning to play the piano. I think there's also the detail in the original, and I can't remember if they reference it in the remake, that Mary also played the piano. But let's talk about the piece that they actually have on here. Einsame Blumen, Opus 82.3, 82.3. I've never known how to 82.3. Who knows? By Robert Schumann. Let's talk about the Schumanns, because I initially, when I first saw this, was like, I don't know what this is. There's obviously some significance as to why they picked this specific piece, but I don't know. I didn't know in the moment what it might be. And like a lot of people have translated the title Einsame Blumen. It basically means lonely flower, so that could definitely refer to Mary or James or any number of characters in this game because everyone's pretty lonely. um, but then a few people on the Silent Hill Reddit started talking about the Schumanns and Brahms, who is also referenced in this game. The next piece of sheet music that we find later on in the game is an intermezzo by Brahms. Um, let's talk about Clara Schumann. So Clara Schumann is notable for being one of the few female composers pre 1900s that music history classes actually talk about. You got her, you got like Hildegard von Bingen, and I'm sure that there are a few others, but as you can imagine, like in most of the arts, a lot of our education about the creators of that art has been focused on men. Clara Schumann was a like incredible composer, pianist, and then she married Robert Schumann. And the reason that she is always stuck out in my mind uh, is because I remember learning in the music history classes I took in high school, or not high school, in college, that like Clara Schumann, she was an incredible composer, but when she got married, she started to compose less and less until the point where she actively said, like, I don't know if it's proper for a woman to compose, like clearly that it's meant to be a man's job. And I remember hearing that, and I'm paraphrasing, but I remember hearing that and just being so sad that Clara Schumann felt that way and felt like in this society that she lived in, that like, oh well, clearly it is more proper for a woman to be a wife and mother, and composing isn't composing is for men, not for women. I'm like, love yourself, Clara Schumann. um, and Robert Schumann, even himself, when I was researching this last week, as Cleo and I were talking about it over email. Even Robert Schumann is on record as saying, like, I wonder how many like beautiful, like, genius works have been lost because Clara has stopped composing, essentially. Again, paraphrasing, but it is it's sad to think about, and I'm glad that we do have the pieces of hers that we do have. Um, but it's really interesting that we've got this Robert Schumann piece here. A lot of that stuff, it's not as pertinent necessarily to why this is present in Silent Hill 2. That was just sort of like a personal story about why Clara Schumann is significant to me. What I learned through the research that the people on Reddit did, and my own research looking at Wikipedia and other music history stuff, is that later on in his life, Robert Schumann ended up being institutionalized because he grew very sick, which you can definitely make some connections there between his story, his and Clara's story, and James and Mary's story. One of the members of the couple gets sick and is put in a hospital, and the other one is left to kind of watch them wither away and deteriorate. The other thing that's interesting is their connection with Brahms, which I think I may actually save for when we get to the Brahms sheet music. But yeah, the Schumanns did know Brahms, and Brahms did know the Schumanns. The Schumann. I don't know. Plurals. um, and like, there's the obvious reason Brahms was included because the sister city to Silent Hill is Brahms. I've always liked the fact that they pronounce it Brahms in the game and in the movie, because that feels like such an American thing to do. It's like, no, it's not Brahms, it's Brahms. Um, and it's the town that Sybil Bennett, the police officer from the original Silent Hill, comes from. But there are, again, thematic resonances with the real-life stories of these composers that connect with the story of Silent Hill 2. That we'll save that for when we get to that piece of sheet music. So there's your little bit of music history, and I'm sure I got some of my facts wrong, but I have not been as good about having like my notes as in front of me and as well researched as other people, namely Cleo. Okay. So this is the apartment that I missed on my second playthrough, and it's because we've got this lying figure just grooving to the beat out here. And if you're not careful, you'll accidentally close the door again and not realize, oh, that's a place I could have gone and didn't go to before. So yeah, the door is closed now, and so it'd be very easy to think like, oh, I already checked all the doors here, that one was locked before. But it is not locked anymore. It is open. And I think there's a few enemies in here, so I should probably... I'm going to take a syringe. Maybe it's just the bug. Yeah, it's just the bug. Rocking horse in the corner. Or not rocking horse. What is that? Oh, it's just a roll around horse. Okay. Got a deteriorating teddy bear. And here is a note that you may miss if you don't come into this room. Please deliver these to Mrs. Millie from 102. I'm really worried about her. She's been cooped up all alone with his belongings for days on end. She won't even move them. God forbid anyone else touch anything. It's breaking my heart just thinking about it. So here we have the suggestion of a married couple. They don't specifically say here how old she is. But you get the impression that her husband passed and she's been cooped up all alone with his belongings, and so someone was going to bring this basket to the apartment, and I guess it never made it there. And there are the obvious resonances with James and Mary's story. A spouse passed away and being unable to get over the loss. Okay. Believe we have explored everything in this hallway, and we've got the key to the second floor, the rest of the second floor, so I think that's where we're going next. I'll do a quick save just to play it safe. Because the other thing that Laura did when she ran across is she opened up that hallway. And there are creatures grooving to the beat in there. I know there's no beat for them to groove in, but it just feels very natural to say that. Let's make a new save. That's a new game plus. Oh, that's from when I did the my second playthrough. You know what? We could probably start going back over like the earlier saves. I think I'm just going to try to keep it to 3 saves for this game. Having 3 saves deep should be enough for me to go back and get something if I missed anything. Because at a certain point, I'm going to get too far away from those earlier saves for it to be worth it. Okay, I think I already checked this door. And we've got creatures, so we'll explore this before we go back up to the 2nd floor. My frame rates will be like all the driver updates and updates to this game that I've gotten, and I still have these frame rate issues. Dodge. Until my frame rate comes back. Okay, here we go. Ah, crap. It came from behind. Come on, just die already. Okay, you're dead. And you're dead. Stomped out. Okay. Alright. Nothing in there. Nothing there. So that note before talked about bringing that basket of like flowers and little items to room 102, which I believe this is. Yes. So this is where Mrs. Millie lived. You get the impression that it was perhaps an elderly couple based on the furnishings, perhaps. Or maybe I'm just making assumptions. Let's go into that. Ooh, a camera. Got a lamp. Wonder how long that's been on. And we've got another one of our mysterious photos, Valentine's Day. So, there are a lot of there have been a lot of varying interpretations about what the photos actually represent. Because there's the puzzle aspect of it, which we talked about before, where like you get all the photos, you count the number of things on each photo, and that tells you the number of letters in from the message on the front to add to it's like the world's most elaborate jumble, although you don't have to unscramble the letters. And it says you've been here 2 decades or whatever it means. But there is still the actual content of the photos themselves. And I'm hesitant to say exactly what my interpretation is because I know Cleo is still working that out for herself. I'll say kind of the way I took it, which might have been a little bit influenced by what other people have said on Reddit, but also was just kind of how I took it when I was playing the game. But I kind of wonder if these, based on a few of the different photographs that you find, I got the impression that maybe they are meant to represent different parts of James and Mary's relationship. Keep hitting the wrong button to bring up the items. Strange photos. Like Valentine's Day, that might be a reference to Valentine's Day the two of them had. I've been happy. Which, is that this room I'm looking at? No. The photo's blurry, but it definitely looks like it's a room that you can go to. It's got a TV. Oh, this might actually be, I wonder if this is 212, I think it is. The room with the TV that is off at first, and then when you come back, it's on, and there's a dead body in front of it. Yeah. But yeah, I think a few people have posited that perhaps they're photos that Mary and or James took during their relationship, and so you kind of get, oh, where are you? I heard the little staticky change. There's a mannequin somewhere around here. Um, but yeah, uh, or maybe it was just a light flickering, and I'm just being paranoid. This game will do that to you. Yep. Aha. Yeah. Once we get more photos, maybe we'll have a more developed theory about what they are. But yeah, that's kind of the way I took it. Like, perhaps they're illustrating different parts of Mary and James's relationship. Locked. Come on, I want you to mark it. There we go. Now it is marked. Okay, second floor. We got the key to the other half of the second floor, so that's where we're going next. And it's 8 o'clock. We're making decent time. Haven't gotten any of the coins yet, but that is about to change. Okay, James, I'll give you a health potion so that you're not belly aching. Yep, you're going to get up at some point, I'm sure. I'll talk more about what I think the just bodies lying around are meant to indicate. Well, actually, no. I can talk about that now because, like, first of all, yes, they are unsettling, and also they are ominous in case they end up standing back up later on. But yeah, I think I'm going to talk a little bit more about my theory on that when we get to a later point when there's a bunch of them on the ground. So it'll be more relevant then. And I'm just going to... I know that they just have this noise here because they want to... they want it to be authentic to the original experience of the original game, but I'm just checking to make sure my radio is actually off because I'm getting that damn achievement. I read an article recently with one of the members of Bloober Team, or watched a video interview with one of them, where they talked about how the first encounter with Pyramid Head is very particular, and they wanted to make sure that they recreated the different beats of it as accurately as possible, because it is part of the characterization of Pyramid Head in a way. There's our first coin. We can't reach it. We'll be getting something to move that trash later. But yeah, this is what I've been this is what I've been really looking forward to tonight. And there are so many places to explore before we actually get there. Oh, we've got this piece of music. So this is a piece of music that is very iconic for just being unsettling as fuck. And hold on, is this where I want to be right now? Yeah, actually, I'm going to go up to 212 first, because I think sequence of events wise, I want to do this right. Where is the doorway back out? Because if I go through the wall over there, then that means that I'm going to go get the gun and miss the pyramid stuff. Yeah, I think you're meant to see that cracked door like after coming up here, because what could draw your attention away from motherfucking Pyramid Head and this weird red light that doesn't seem to have any source other than perhaps his own head. Again, that's a detail that they carried from the original. And I feel like it's such a strong choice to just be like, hey, here's the dude. You can just look at him. He's not gonna jump out at you in your first meeting. He's not gonna be like hiding behind something. He's just here in plain sight. And in that way, I think it's very. There are definitely echoes of Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise. Because that was something that when I rewatch, it actually might have been my first time watching like Halloween from start to finish, because I think I'd seen pieces of it on TV. But back when I was doing the podcast with Theo, Matter of Taste, and we talked about Halloween and the reboot that came out several years ago, I remember commenting on how like there's so many parts of that movie where Michael Myers is just there, like it's in broad daylight, and there's something so incredibly unsettling about that. And similarly, he's just there, standing there, menacingly. The maniac. And we don't have the key for this yet, so this is where my CSI Pyramid Head starts. So remember this. First time we see Pyramid Head, he's on the other side of these bars. Can't go through 212, so we got to go through 213. So going into 213, we've got this sound that almost feels like a heartbeat in certain ways, and then that has this other, what I assume to be a sample of some sort, playing over it. Um, yeah, and this is iconic for a lot of people because there is just something very unsettling about this piece of music, and it's so simple. Like, I think this bassier tone is probably something that was created using a synthesizer, or it might be another sample that he found. Um, but you've got this just low rumbling tone, and then that kind of more trebly, discordant thing happening over top of it. Uh, this is a glimpse of the past meant to indicate where the clock puzzle that was moved to Blue Creek Apartments in the remake originally lied in the original Silent Hill 2. I remember seeing this when I was playing the remake, and I was just like, wait, am I supposed to come back here at some point? And when I got really turned around and confused about where I was supposed to go next, I ended up trying to find that place, and then it was like, oh, no, this isn't important. It's just a reference. Okay. Crime scene investigation. Here's what we've got in this room. We've got this chair. We've got this table that looks like it's kind of been pushed to the side. Tattered curtains. We've got this TV here. This isn't the TV in the photograph that I was talking about before. We've got this little table here that reminds me of the table that is in the oh yeah, like that would make sense if the clock was in this room in the original, and something like this is in the clock room in the remake. Then I guess that makes sense that that would be there. And then we've got this big gaping hole in the wall that we're going to climb through. Peeling ceiling, ceiling fan. Is this where I want to talk about samples? You know what? I think so. So, I'm going to see if I can bring this up really quick. I'm going to switch over to my music view. But I'm not actually going to be utilizing the piano right now. I am going to shift tab out of the game entirely. Is there a way I can minimize it? because I would love to be able to show something else on the screen. Hang on. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to bring this over here. And can I change the source of this really quick? To this. Capture specific window. Let's switch this to capture any application. And how do I shift it over? Or do I just need to move this over here and then move this over here? Okay, we're gonna make this work. No, I don't want to expand that. I want to shrink it actually so that it will fit in my little display over here. We're doing it live. Okay. So, that's good enough. That shows you all the stuff that I need you to see. Alright, I could probably shrink it a little bit further. This is a video I discovered years ago talking about the different samples, a variety of the different samples that Akira Yamaoka has used over the years in the Silent Hill soundtracks. And this seems like as good an opportunity as any to talk about what he did with those samples. To give a brief rundown of what I mean by sample, if you're not familiar, a sample is kind of what it says on the tin. In audio, a sample refers to a sampled piece of audio. You hear it a lot in hip-hop, where hip-hop artists will sample other songs or older songs and reuse those things. Another place I really got into samples was the artist Gautier, the guy who did Somebody That I Used to Know. He has samples all over his work. And for a while, when I was a teenager, I remember being very prejudiced against samples because I was like, oh, well, they didn't create it, so they're just using it, and like, what, that seems lazy or something like that. That is a very common argument that you will hear, and it is also I think very short-sighted, because when I started getting really into the Silent Hill original soundtracks and Gautier's material, I started to see how like there is an art to sampling, and there are a lot of different kinds of samples. There are sometimes like entire sections of like pieces of music that get sampled for songs. Like one of Gautier's songs has this like trumpet line that he uses, and he combines that with like a drum pattern from another song that he likes. And then there's samples that are literally just like, oh, we have mapped to the keyboard a particular sound, and depending on the sample, the quality of the sample, it's either they like recorded that instrument or sound at a bunch of different pitches, or they just took the audio sample and pitched it to the different keys on the piano so that you could use it in whatever key that you need it to be in. Akira Yamaoka uses samples throughout his music for a variety of reasons, and one of the reasons I brought this video up is because there are some really cool things that, some very simple things that this YouTube user, Diego Reynoso, demonstrates as to how like uh, Akira Yamaoka would take a sample and manipulate it, and sometimes in some very simple ways, and create a completely new noise from it. And let me see, are there timestamps here? Yes. Here's the one that I always like referencing, is the Butterflies Room. Now, this isn't the music that you hear in the Butterflies Room in the remake, as far as I can remember, but in the original, in the room with the butterflies, there's the hole in the wall, you grab the key or whatever. But, let's, I gotta unmute it. Playback speed is normal. Okay, it looked slow for a second. Okay, hold on. I gotta back it up a little bit. So that is the original sample that he's working with. Now watch this number on the digital display go down, and you'll see what happens to the sound. So this is the thing that's super cool, or that I think at least is super cool, is you heard the original version of that sound. It sounds kind of goofy. It's just this like blam 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 blam, like this ploinky kind of tone. Um, but what happens, like I was saying before, with sampling audio is you can either, if it's an instrument, you can potentially sample each note played by that instrument individually, and it will feel very authentic to the original instrument. For a sample like this, though, it's probably not based on any real instrument, and so they created a sound and then they just pitch shift it to give you that tone over various octaves, like everything from a low tone on the keyboard to a higher tone, like everything from down here to up here. Um, One of the ways that people change pitch sometimes, or when they're manipulating sound, is just slowing the sound down, because that slows down either like I can never remember which, if it's frequency or amplitude that's tied to pitch, but it slows that down, and so it reduces the pitch, but it also makes the sound longer. It like occurs over a longer period of time. It's essentially like the aural equivalent of slow-mo. You're taking a sound and is slowing it down to change the pitch, and it changes other qualities about it because now it is taking place over a longer period of time. And so you take that little ploinky, goofy sound, that bling, 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 and what the guy was doing when the number was lowering is he was dropping the octave. So like he was originally playing it, if you're looking at the piano on my screen, maybe he was originally playing it up here, and he's hitting that same note, but he's hitting a button to drop the octave, so now it's down here and then even lower. And even with a piano tone, you can kind of tell how the quality of the note changes based on the pitch as you drop it. It's this that note is C in every octave, but hearing it down here, there are different qualities that come out of the tone. And with a sample, slowing it down, you hear all these different characteristics that you wouldn't otherwise. Let me see if there were any other samples that I wanted to show in here. Oh, Resting Comfortably from Silent Hill 4. Hold on, let me back it up a little bit. So this is the original sample at a higher pitch. And then when he drops the octave, with a single trigger of a key, you bring out all these other qualities of the sound. I really hope you guys are able to hear this video, because otherwise this whole thing has been for naught. I'll make sure to check it afterwards to ensure that that is translating properly. Cool, you can hear it. Good. But yeah, so there's a little crash course on samples and what you can do with them. Like, just by dropping that tone a few octaves, you get all these other notes and qualities that you wouldn't, your brain wouldn't really register at the faster, higher pitch. So that's what I'm thinking about when we're in this room that has this really strange, deep noise, and then the other sound happening over it. So let's get back to the game, actually. And I'll bring that up here. Zoom. So we've got this lower bassy tone. That sounds like a pretty standard synthesized bass. We've got the ambient noise in the room. And then there's more trebly, this sound. That sounds like it could be a sample that, when heard at a higher pitch, might not sound so creepy, but by dropping it several octaves, he gets this really dark, weird quality out of it. And I think it's such a simple but effective way to make the sound new in a way, and also create these tense atmospheres. Like, when the people were originally making that sample, they probably didn't intend it to be played at that slow and that low a pitch, and so that's why it's another example of how, on a sound design level, Akira Yamaoka is tapping into this idea of the uncanny, of the unexpected, of things not being the way that they are supposed to be, which is just such a through line of the aesthetic of Silent Hill. All right, I think we're about done with the sample discussion for now, and I think we're about done in this room. So once again, let's look at everything in this room, try to create a good mental image of it. We've got the TV, we've got this table, we've got the tattered curtains, we've got this table over here, and we've got this chair here. We've got paintings on the wall of mountains and the ocean. And now let's go and get that gun. I'm gonna check this door. So that is back in the hallway that we were just in. Can't get there. We've got the stairwell. Can't get in there yet because we don't have a key for it. Due to the ongoing renovation works, tenants are asked to keep out of the third floor of the building. Sincerely, Woodside Apartments Administration. I think we talked in the previous videos about how there's on the newspapers there's a leak referenced. And here we have a light that feels kind of similar to the one that was being cast on Pyramid Head out in the hallway. Don't know if that's intentional, but it's a cool lighting anyway. God, I love the lighting in these games. And now we're in room 217. The home of the guy who... No, he doesn't have a gun. whatever would make you think that this man had a gun? It's not like the walls are covered in bullet holes. The other thing I also like to think about is, okay, so we've got all this furniture here, like blocking this hallway. Got bullets here. What was this guy shooting at? Do we think it was Pyramid Head? Do we think it was something else? This is the home of yet another victim of Silent Hill's psychical energies. And then he left the gun for us in this little grocery cart. Is there anything else I want to explore in here before I grab that? Check the fridge. Nothing in the fridge. Okay. Hold L2 to aim, press R2 to shoot. I've already gotten my melee only run achievement, so I'm going to be using this. I was trying to see if that symbol on the handle was significant anyway. Something that is like a little bit of an Easter egg. That logo on the side of the shopping cart here is a reference to the supermarket in the original Silent Hill. That it's not where you wake up when you meet Sybil. I can't remember the exact name of it, but that is a direct reference to Silent Hill 1. So now we've got our gun. And I remember Cleo talking about this, but not being sure. She said, so a lot of people discovered, there is, if you, there's a way that, like, James will let off a, like, errant charge in this room of the handgun, to kind of like be indicative of the fact that he has bad trigger discipline. And Cleo wasn't sure how to do that, but specifically you've got to aim with the gun, and I don't think it's just any point in the room. I'm pretty sure it is. You got to aim it at the TV. And why would James want to destroy a TV? I feel like I'm a teacher in a class. Can anyone tell me why James would want to destroy a TV? What do we know about James? What do we know about the future of his story? What association does James have with TVs? Yeah, if we're to believe that, like, TVs, well, like, one interpretation you could say is, like, TVs represent revelation of the truth. You also get TVs in Angela's story, but yeah, like, James learns the truth by watching a video on a TV just like that one. So now let's go back in the hallway. There's nothing else in this hallway, right? Start heading back. That didn't sound good. CSI Pyramid Head begins. That door is still locked. This room is very different now. The chair that was over here has been dragged towards the TV, across the floor. Don't know if that's meant to be blood or just like scraping up the hardwood, but there's now a key on the little table here. And the TV is on, and lo and behold, what do we have here in the chair? It's another dead body, and if you're looking closely, it is likely another dead James body, like all of the corpses in this game that we see are. Whether or not you believe it's actually James's body and it's like time loop sort of thing, and you're seeing other iterations of him, or if you think like, oh, maybe it's someone else completely, but James just sees it as himself because he sees things differently in Silent Hill. There's a dead man here. We heard a scream, and then came back here to find the TV on, which almost looks like it's got like some sort of shadow on it. Oh, that's the blood. That's the blood. That's definitely the blood. What happens if I try to shoot this TV? It does not stop the TV. That is not a normal TV. I think we can all attest. But yeah, so I'm not going to bother going out into the hallway to show you that Pyramid Head is no longer behind those bars when we go back outside. So here's the way. Here is what we know. We saw Pyramid Head behind the bars. We entered this room. Everything looked pretty normal. We went and got the gun. On our way back from getting the gun, we heard a scream, and we come to find this. And then when we go outside, Pyramid Head is no longer there. So, pretty sure Pyramid Head killed this guy. But sequence of events. First of all, who dragged the chair over? Because the fact that there's blood splatter on the TV makes me think that the guy was killed in the chair after the chair was moved. Or maybe it was back here when he killed him and just the blood was splatter, like, went enough distance to hit the TV. But it seems like here's one possible interpretation of events. While we're going to get the gun, Pyramid Head comes in here and discovers, I'm just going to go with the it's another James theory at the moment, discovers a version of James in here, kills him, throws him into the chair, and drags the chair up to the TV and turns it on. Why did he do this? Why you do this, Pyramid Head? Another interpretation is maybe the guy pulled the chair up to the TV himself and turned it on himself. Maybe he was about to watch something and then Pyramid Head killed him. I am more inclined to go with the former interpretation, the idea that like Pyramid Head staged this whole scene after killing the guy. Partly because as we get more into talking about Pyramid Head, one of the things I'll be referencing a lot is a tweet that Masahiro Ito, the creature designer, brought up when talking about Pyramid Head and the creatures. Actually, I think that's going to come into more play when we get to the end of Woodside Apartments. But one of the things that we know about Pyramid Head from the game already is that he has been interpreted by a lot of people as a Punisher. If all of the creatures are manifested from James's psyche, Pyramid Head is this kind of hyper masculine creature that is always trying to hunt James down. Um, uh, and one of the things that Masahiro Ito specifically brings up is that like he is trying to remove distractions from James and get him to face the truth. And we see this rehearsed many times throughout the game. So I think it's more likely, based on Pyramid Head as a character, if he is trying to potentially punish James, but also get him to face the truth. This may be like a rehearsal of, hey, you're going to have to sit down and face the truth that's on that videotape, and you better do it when you get there. Or it could be, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't. Or a number of other things. My brain is kind of turning to mush at this point because I have been sick and I am on Dayquil, and I'm sure that there are more useful things I could say. I'm sorry if me moving the camera around is distracting. I kind of think it's just a little ADHD fidgeting. But it is an interesting scene to discover all the same. And it is 8:42, so I'm going to try and blaze through the rest of this. We still haven't gotten any of the coins, but once we start getting them, it should be quick work. And that's not the exit. I always make that mistake in this room. Okay, so yeah, come back out here, and Pyramid Head is no longer behind the grate. But we can now go into 212. I think there are going to be more mannequins in here, probably. So it'd be too easy for there not to be. Oh, I was wrong. Is there no items out here? Come on. Health drink, that is useful. Okay, I'm almost positive that there is a mannequin in this room. Yes, because James is pulling out his gun. Got a heater, we got a... Ah! Where are you? Aha. One of the nice things you can do with the gun in the remake is shoot any of the creatures with legs in the knee, and they will usually drop to a knee. I think there's another mannequin in here, so I want to take that out. Maybe not. Okay. Getting paranoid again. I don't know why this refrigerator has such moody lighting, other than maybe playtesters were missing that there was an item in the fridge, specifically handgun bullets, and so they were like, we need to give more an indicator of like, hey, there's something over here. I don't know if there's any special plot or symbolic significance. Yeah, looks like a shadow of a person's body, or like the stain of a person's body on the bed there. Sweat stain? Someone was having some very stressful nights, perhaps. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the bars where Pyramid Head was. And there are more creatures. Oh, crap. Frame rates are screwing me up. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Yeah. Come on, catch back up. what was I saying before? Oh yeah, yeah. You can take out the knee, and that will uh, incapacitate them long enough so that you can run up and or well, that one got up pretty quickly because I was way too far away. But that is particularly useful in the hospital when you go up against the nurses, because in melee the nurses are brutal, but they are also kind of tanks health-wise. So a really good strategy with the nurses is to take out their knee so it can incapacitates them, and then go up and wail on them with a melee weapon. Once you get to the hospital, it's a lead pipe. Okay. Got it. Great. How great. It's a dumb pun. Don't know why I said that. Okay, I think this is the room with the multiple mannequins. Yeah, it's not going to show in here. Rather, let me just read it. Ooh, there we go. Bullets. Yeah, everyone's had trouble with, like, interact indicator in this game. It's particularly bad in the final boss fight. But the advice I remember seeing on Reddit was, or from someone, was that you kind of gotta, if you're not getting that little like filled circle indicator that okay, I can click on the, I can grab this now, then oh, there's no mannequins in here. I keep anticipating, over anticipating. But yeah, if you center the circle in like the light of your flashlight, then it should, and you're close enough, then it should, see, but that one's fine. I don't get it. You must think I'm cruel, but this prison is of your own making. The choice was yours. I watched you make it, over and over and over again. This time's not going to be any different. And I'll be here, watching. So, I think... Oh, and you even get a little bit of the, like, the symbols in the bottom corners. The symbols in the upcoming puzzle. I think there are connections to be made with James's story here. Like, if this is a note written by a previous iteration of James, it could be talking about like this person is of your own making. Choice is yours. I watch you make it over and over and over again. At this time's not going to be any different. On a metatextual level, you keep playing this game over and over and over again, and I'll be here watching. Maybe one of you streamers wrote this note, and you're talking about watching me play the game over and over and over again. Who can say? But if we take this at face value as, oh, this is written by whoever lived in this apartment, this person's pretty fucked up. Because they've got this weird sort of like Saw-esque trap behind it. I say Saw-esque, but it's not as gruesome as Saw, at the very least. But yeah, you've got this whole secret room with all these strange writings on the wall. Shit's fucked up. Don't like it. Oh, yeah, if we zoom in on this part of the map, yeah, they just turned room 206 into a torture chamber, trap, someplace where they can voyeuristically watch someone suffer. This was also the place on my first playthrough where I ended up doing a ton of backtracking because I didn't see the interact icon on the side of the bookshelf and didn't know that you had to push it. And so I was like, oh, where's that place with the wall? Maybe something, I'm supposed to do something there. And it's like, no, you just missed the action icon. And oh fuck, we are trapped. And we've got a puzzle. Right, where the rooftops pierce through the night. Left are homebound footprints with no owner in sight. But has he found home? Oh, please, please, pray tell. Oh, please, pray tell. Or river of memories leading right to his hell. So, it's a puzzle. There's going to be rooftops, footprints, and a river on these walls, and the numbers associated with them, written with them, are going to be for a combination lock. Rooftops number is right, footprints number is left, and river number is right. And yeah, a lot of weird stuff on these walls. So we've got footprints, that's 7. We've got the rooftops, 13. We've got the door here that has the 9 squares on it, like the final save point in the game, representing the 9 illusions, or the 9 delusions of the different creatures that manifest from James's psyche in this game, including Maria, I'm pretty sure. And there's the river, 11. So we've got 7, 13, 11, and it was rooftops, footprints, and river. So rooftops was 13, footprints is 7, and river is 11. 13, 7, 11, right, left, right. So 13, 7, 11. And we're cooking. We're cooking with gas now. Flip, we've got the man and the sword. And we've got a key to get out of this hellhole. Part of me wants to stay and look at more of the imagery, but we're on a timetable. I want to try and get out of Woodside Apartments by 10 o'clock. Okay, this is a room with lots of bullshit in it, I'm pretty sure. As I begin to get more self-conscious about how long this playthrough is taking, I am beginning to curse more. I'm realizing. Yeah, this room's got 3 bugs in it. Bugs are not one of the 9 delusions. Bugs are just a reference to the original game. In the movie, bugs are also what trail Pyramid Head as he walks around and fucks people up. Where's the other... Oh, it's on the ceiling! What are you doing up there? There we go. Yeah, and this is another just weird-ass apartment. Because we've got... Looks like someone might have been moving in or moving out with all the cardboard boxes. Unopened box. Cardboard, like mail. Got the syringe. Is the store open? No, okay, I can't get in there. But then you've got just this chair in the middle of the room on top of, like, plastic. And there's blood on the floor. I don't know what was going on here. We got duct tape. Okay, yeah. Someone was getting tortured or murdered. We got the single exposed light bulb. Yeah, none of this is good. Let's leave. Alright. I'm going to mute for a moment while I blow my nose. Hopefully that wasn't too disgusting. Alright, so we just unlocked this door. We've got the key to the second floor apartment stairs. So now we're going to go back through here, and there's a creature! Dodge because of frame rate. Come on, catch up. Die already. Ah, come on, don't headbutt me when the frame rate is crap. Okay. Now, there's achievement in this room. And, Cleo was smart and it saved before she got this achievement so that she wouldn't waste a bunch of bullets. I don't feel like I got the time for that. So I'm just going to do it and waste a bunch of bullets so that I can get an achievement that I haven't already gotten. I've got a decent amount of bullets anyway. Okay. Frame rate, thank you for finally catching up. But yeah. Did not know that there was an achievement for this, but you can shoot out each of these balloons. The welcome home balloons. Which, who knows who these were for? Who knows if they were, like, the actual people who lived here that these balloons were for? Who knows if thematically they are meant for Angela, James, Eddie? We still gotta find Eddie. Talk about his music. Did I not get the achievement? Did I already get the achievement? I shot all of them, right? Was that just a complete waste of time? Is there another one on the ground or something that I missed? Maybe I already got that achievement. Well, I just wasted a bunch of bullets. Hold on. I can check this, right? If I shift tab. Achievements. Oh, it also shows my in-progress achievements. That's nice. Truly special. James will trades. Canny, past, other one. No, I don't think I got this achievement. Did it just not work for me? To the abyss, no big deal. Huh. It doesn't look like I've gotten the achievement, so... But I did just shoot all of these, right? They're all deflated? They all look deflated. Do I need to shoot the one on the ground? No. Is there another one I am missing? Well, that is annoying. Let me check my checklist really quick. Maybe they've got it on there. Wrong screen. No, I don't have it on checklist. Where to find all the balloons? Welcome home message. There are 11 balloons. So you must shoot all of them, which will unlock the achievement or trophy. I got all of them, didn't I? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. And I had 18 bullets. You see, this was the weird thing, is like this one looked like it had already been deflated. No. Well, that's frustrating. Maybe on another playthrough. Okay. Is there anything in here? I'll take a health potion. Okay, we've got one of the coins, and... oh, hey there. Ow. Ah, come on. Okay. That's really frustrating. That must be a glitch or something. This is where it came from. Is there anything in here? There are people grooving outside that door. Oh, come on, frame rate. Don't do this to me right now. I got places to be, things to kill. Just catch up already. Ah, fuck it. Oh, come on. Can't even get through the door because it's so jittery. Okay. You know what? I don't need to use a bullet on you. I can just whack you from behind. Are we caught up yet? Come on. Okay. At least it's dead. There we go. Jeez. Okay. Is there anything else I need on this floor? I don't believe so. So, what did I just get? I got a key, right? Second floor, yeah, the staircase key. So... okay. I want to go this way. Through 210. Across the balcony. Back through here. We're not going to bother with you. Alright, actually we are. Oh, come on. Get a new deal. So this door was locked before, but now we can go through it. So we don't have to go through 213 again, or whatever the room is named. Okay. Gonna save. You know what? want to save over that. I'm going to save over this one in case I want to go back and try to actually get that achievement. And it's frustrating because it's a locked achievement, so you only get to see it once you've gotten it, or a hidden achievement. That's what I mean. And so I can't even tell if I looked through all the ones that I've gotten and I didn't see it there as far as I could tell. Actually, do I want to? Yeah, let's. We're here. Let's do this floor now, and then we'll go up to the third floor. Oh, because we've got Eddie coming up. Okay. What the hell happened here? We got some, like, intestines coming out of the body, or maybe that's just sausage or food that was already in the fridge. Moldy stuff. And a body. Okay. Coming up is genuinely one of, like, my favorite pieces of music in this game. Ordinary Vanity.
Who's there?
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it, I swear.
Hey, are you okay?
I didn't do anything. He was like that when I got here.
He... Oh, you mean the man back there? In the kitchen?
I didn't do it. I swear I didn't kill him.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not saying that you did. Look, my name is James. James Sunderland.
Oh, Eddie.
Eddie, okay. So, do you live here, Eddie?
No, I'm not even from this town. It's just...
Something brought you here.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that. Well, they came at me. I didn't know what to do, so I ran. I came here. Figured it might be safe, but then I found the guy in the fridge.
Easy, deep breaths. Look, this place, it's not safe. These things,
Notice
this whole town.
air. You can see Eddie's breath. Not as well right now, but
Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Hey, you want to come with? Maybe together we can find a way out of this town.
Oh, sorry, but I can't leave. Not yet. I need to find someone.
Oh.
And Eddie, be careful.
Yeah. You too.
okay. So that was our introduction to Eddie, and for whatever reason, we've got some very pretty music playing over it, and I'm looking up the name of it in the remake really quickly. Ordinary Vanity's Solitude. So part of the reason I like that piece of music so much is it's actually the original version of it is used in the first Silent Hill movie as almost like an opening titles piece, and it really sets a tone. Something I found interesting about the original that is different from the remake version of the piece. Controller's disconnected. Hold on. But I was going to pause the game anyway because I have more music stuff to talk about. Even though we are running low on time, it is 9:10. I will try to make this quick. Going back to the piano demos setting. So, this piece, Ordinary Vanity, it's kind of all based around this B minor feel. And then you get this higher part that's like, if I remember. something like that. I don't know if that's actually the way that he played it. He might have played that higher part and recorded that higher part and that lower part separately. But it's this really interesting combination of notes where there isn't really a chord progression there, but there is tension there with that note. If we're in B flat minor, you get this, and then up here you've got the and it just creates this very haunting vibe. One of the things I talked about in a previous video was the idea of prepared piano, I think is the term, of ways to, like with an acoustic grand piano, they would put stuff on the strings to change the tone. Akira Yamaoka does something very similar with a lot of the piano and the Silent Hill soundtracks, where he'll put them through different filters to give them different effects. The piano, like me playing it here, it sounds just like a piano, but the way that he's produced, the way that he's engineered the piano sound for this track in particular, it almost feels like you're hearing it from the bottom, like a well or like a tunnel or like in the sewers or something like that. And what I find interesting listening to the remake version now is that the version of the remake has some like additional orchestrations, like some light strings in the background and stuff, but it omits something that was in the original version of the track, which we've got all this B minor stuff going on. These are our notes in B flat minor. Oh, hey Johnny, how's it going? But in the original, while this melody, this haunting melody is going on, this pretty haunting melody, you get a different synth instrument that comes in and plays a G minor chord, which is not part of the B flat minor scale. Here's where I'm going to start talking about another music theory term. And I want to make sure that people don't get it confused with the previous one we talked about. When we were talking about the jukebox piece, we were talking about diegetic and non-diegetic music. That was talking about diegetic music being stuff that's in the scene, and the non-diegetic music being like the score, the stuff that the characters don't hear. This is another D word and non-D word that are about something completely different. So maybe it would have been better if I hadn't. I basically just didn't want people to think that we were potentially talking about the exact same thing, because we're not. We're talking about something very different. When we talk about chords and melodies and scales, I've been talking about how we're in the key of B minor, and the B minor, the notes in that scale, those are the notes in B minor. And one of the things we can say about those notes is they are all diatonic to the key of B minor. Diatonic means they are all natural to that scale or that key. When we talk about chords built on the different scale degrees of a key, the different notes found in a key, we think of them as diatonic chords. Like B flat minor is a chord that is diatonic to the key. Another chord that is diatonic is E flat minor. It uses, these are all notes that are part of B flat minor. F minor is another one. D flat minor, D flat major is another one. That's another one. These are all chords that are built using notes that are diatonic to B flat minor. Non-diatonic notes or chords are notes and chords that aren't natural to B flat minor, and I think one of the things that Akira Yamaoka uses very effectively is when he wants to create tension and dissonance. Like any composer can do this, but like Akira Yamaoka is specifically doing it in a horror game where he's trying to create, like, make things unsettling and off-putting. Um, and so, in the midst of this piece, in the original version of it, not the remake version, we have him throwing in this G minor chord. These two notes are not natural to B flat minor. Like, if we're those are all the notes that we were using in B flat minor. These two are not part of that. And in the original track, it does create this very unsettling feel, and it honestly shouldn't work, but I think part of the way he does make it work is the tone that he's using on the synthesizer or whatever keyboard instrument he's using, and the fact that the chord kind of comes in, hits, and then fades pretty quickly while this other prettier melody is happening. Ah. Like, that is very dissonant, but he somehow makes it work. The thing that is interesting about it, though, that I, for whatever reason, didn't realize, well, I didn't realize until I sat down and actually figured out the notes of that dissonant chord. G minor is actually the key of the next song on the original soundtrack. So, in the context of the, like, album, it's almost an anticipation of the next track. And what is the next track on that original album? And we'll be talking more about that when we get to Blue Creek Apartments next session. But for now, I wanted to kind of give a primer on the idea of diatonic and non-diatonic chords. Those are all chords that feel natural to the key. This does not. And I think one of the things that Akira Yamaoka uses really well over the course of the game is as things get creepier, as things get more unsettling, he utilizes a lot more non-diatonic tones and chords to create those feelings of tension, very purposefully. So yeah, cool little bit of music theory stuff to go over since we are talking about music stuff in this playthrough. Let's get back to the game and see if we can't finish Woodside Apartments before the end of this session. Really quick, what are my notes? What haven't I talked about? Oh, that was another thing I was going to bring up. Something that Cleo actually pointed out when we were talking about this piece of music in our email chain was that it also kind of works as an example of Akira Yamaoka's whole ethos of like having pretty things clashing with really dissonant things, where it's like, oh, we've got this really pretty piano piece, while Eddie is just barfing his guts out. So that may have been very intentional.
Eddie, are you gonna be okay?
Yeah, I guess.
Are you, though? Got a computer over here. Cleo's going to get into more detail about this in her playthrough, but this is detail, again, I think that they added for the remake, but you have some clues to Eddie's backstory in this room, specifically football player helmet, and certificate for some sort of football achievement. I can't really read it. And a football. Eddie makes reference later in the game to the fact that he shot a football player who bullied him in the knee, and also killed his dog, which is not good. Eddie was brutally bullied, and I think it's up to the viewer how much he was justified, how much he can be forgiven. But when I was watching Cleo play through this room, I was wondering if, like, what if this is where that football player lived, and the reason Eddie is here in Silent Hill, like, part of the reason he was called is because, and this is confirmed by the creators of the original game, like, he felt some guilt over what he did to that football player and the dog, and Silent Hill calls people who feel guilt. But I also wonder if this was the actual home of that football player, and Eddie came here to finish the job. And this body that James is seeing as his own body might actually be the body of that football player. And when he says, "I didn't do it," like, my initial interpretation of the character playing the original game was that, like, at the beginning, Eddie does not have the stomach to kill a person, but over the course of the game, he just develops this weird sort of, like, interest in it. But now I'm wondering if, like, even in this first scene where he seems so much more innocent, he is lying to us straight to our face. Interesting to think about. Okay, I'm not going to bother with all of these armless figures. I'm just going to go and get the coin and not worry about you guys. Yep. Screw y'all. I don't have time for this. They are all going to be so frustrated. Okay. Now I need to go to the 3rd floor so that I can get the last coin by dropping stuff down the garbage chute. Oh, there's other stuff in the courtyard that I kind of wanted to show off. Well, there's a map of Woodside in the courtyard, and then there are the gates to Rosewater Park. I don't think there was anything else in particular. I just don't want to have to deal with all those lying figures. I only have so much time to play tonight. It's night 24. I'll go back and show the map and stuff at least. I can do that, and I think still manage to dodge creatures. And we're running, and we're running. In the original game, you could just accidentally fall into the pool, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Woodside Apartments. The gate is open from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. Outside these hours, request assistance at the reception. And then we've got the map here. This looks like it's the actual map from the original game. Silent Hill East City. Okay. And we're running. Yeah, Johnny, the Silent Hill games have always been my favorite series because of a lot of the things I'm talking about. The original games in particular were created with such care and detail, and that is a mentality that they thankfully carried into this remake of Silent Hill 2. If you've never played any of the games and you're interested, if you like horror and you're interested in playing any of the games, I highly recommend the remake. I couldn't be happier with it as a remake of the original. That is not the way to the staircase. Went to buy the HD collection, then was disappointed that it only contained 2 and 3. Felt like I needed to play them in order. So here's the thing: most of the Silent Hill series is fairly like anthology. The only games that are like Silent Hill 3 is a direct sequel to the first game, and so there are arguments that you should play the first game before playing that one. I think you can play the third one without playing the first one, and it's still a really good game. There are just some things that won't necessarily hit the same way emotionally. HD Collection has received a lot of criticism for things that were honestly a little bit out of the control of the people that made it. When they went to make the HD Collection, they did not have the finished version of the game. They had to work from alpha versions of the game because apparently it was policy at the time during that era of gaming and game development in Japan. Specifically, the turn of the millennium, 1999, 2001, when these original games were coming out, where they were just like, "Oh, we're done with the game. Well, we'll just dump the source code or whatever. We don't need it anymore." So when they went to make the HD collection, they ended up having to reconstruct a bunch of stuff, and there was music that they ended up re-recording. I think there were visuals that they had to reconstruct. They had to re-record all the voice acting because initially there was no contract that allowed the original voices to be in the game. But the original voice actor for James Sunderland was able to get the other original voice cast for Silent Hill 2 to come together and sign off on allowing their voices to be used in the HD collection, which is cool. But also, he hasn't been great in recent years when it comes to certain things he talks about. He's a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, I think. We won't dwell on him. We've got a few mannequins in here. Oh, come on. Don't just run in here and try to hide. I saw you. More about the HD collection. I've heard that, if you've never played any of the original games, then the HD collection is fine. Like I was saying, story-wise, Silent Hill 2 stands alone as its own story, so I would highly recommend the remake. And you can get Silent Hill 4 on GOG.com for $9, which is really nice. Ow. Oh, you tried the Wii Silent Hill game, Silent Hill Shattered Memories. I actually really like Shattered Memories, and I have a capture card. I'm borrowing a capture card from a friend, and I'm hoping that I can stream that game. It is a reimagining of the original game, and it gets a lot of flack for that, but I really loved what they did with Silent Hill Shattered Memories. And in the same way that the Silent Hill 2 remake, there are certain details that make it seem like, oh, this could actually be a sequel to the original Silent Hill 2. I think Silent Hill Shattered Memories functions similarly with the original Silent Hill. It is very different gameplay-wise from the other games in that there's no combat. There are chase sequences with monsters where you just have to run. Yeah, the way that they utilized the Wiimote for Silent Hill Shattered Memories, I was in love with, because they really took advantage of it as a tool for conveying story, but also just being fucking creepy. Okay, I really hope I'm not missing anything, but I don't think I am. I think I'm just focused. Oh yeah, okay. Secret room with weird note. I know there is something here. I know, I can feel it. It all looks normal, but it's not. It's underneath, pulsing, trying to get out. Is it trying to get out? Or should I get in? I have to uncover it, rip it to the surface. Peel it off layer by layer so I can see it. I know it's there. So this guy's having a normal one, whoever wrote this note. And I'm sure everything was fine with him, and we won't. But like, I'm sure that story ended fine. But yeah, almost all of the Silent Hill games kind of function as standalone games. Silent Hill 4 does have some connections to Silent Hill 2, but it is a self-contained story, and it's more just like, oh, there was a reference to Walter Sullivan in Silent Hill 2, but he wasn't a primary player. Well, this is the room. This is the room I was thinking of. But in Silent Hill 4, Walter Sullivan is a primary player in the story. Oh, come off it. There's what I like to see. That is how you do it. And this guy is going to try to jump at me, but I'm going to go out here. Fight me on outdoors. Fight me on the balcony, mannequin. Can't beat my moves. I've mastered the dodge button now. Clean. When you get the hang of it, like fighting the mannequins is really, really fun. Like, Cleo is not lying about that. Okay, yes, I'm going in the right direction. 9:33. We're doing good on time. We got 2 of the coins. We just got 1 left. Where the crap are you? Nope, stay down. Yeah, so for those who don't know what I was talking about before with Silent Hill Shattered Memories, the Wii game, and the remote, the way that it uses the Wiimote. In Silent Hill Shattered Memories, you play as Harry Mason looking for your daughter Cheryl, like in the original Silent Hill. But they moved it to the present day, and you have a cell phone that you can use as a flashlight, but you can also use as an actual cell phone. Like, there are phone numbers you can find in the game that you can call using the Wiimote, and the voices will come through the Wiimote. It also functions as your radio, like in this game, where it'll crackle when there are creatures nearby or weird things nearby, and you will sometimes get just weird messages through the Wiimote unbidden. And I was so impressed when I played the game at just the sound clarity. When the audio came through the Wiimote speaker, I was not expecting it to be as clear as it was. And here is where we get another apple reference with the bloody apple. Could be a Snow White reference. Could be a Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden reference. Who can say? But I know what we're going to do with it. We're going to drop it down this chute. Matt Yulter says, not gonna lie, the idea of attempting to use a cell phone in Silent Hill sounds terrifying just on a theoretical level. Boy, howdy was it. Like, this is one of the, it makes me think of that Tumblr post that went around at one point where someone was talking about, like, yeah, you're not gonna scare me with that. I played this game twice. Washing machine or dryer or whatever it is. But yeah, someone on Tumblr I remember saying, like, people think, like, oh, cell phones make it harder to do horror in a contemporary setting, and it's like, no, cell phones give you whole new opportunities to create terror and fear, and they did a really good job with that in Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Apple just his favorite flavor? Maybe, Johnny. Maybe it is. Okay. 9:36. We're doing good on time. We've got all the coins. I hope we got all of the notes. office, actually, so I don't overwrite that reception office save. In case I want to try and go back and actually get that balloon achievement. Can I go all the way down? Yes, because I can open the courtyard from the other side now. What was I saying? I can't remember. My brain is turning to mush. It's almost 10 o'clock. Cell phones, apple justice favorite flavor. Yeah. I don't remember. I'm gonna watch this back and be like, oh, now I remember what I was gonna say there. Got the woman and the gravestone. But yeah, cell phones in horror. You can do some fucked up shit with them. And I think that's pretty cool. But now, we have all the coins, and we're going to solve and talk about the coin puzzle. Another cool piece of music that somehow didn't end up on the OST for either the original or the remake. 3 bright coins in the 5 holes be. First sits the maiden underneath the tree. So we've got the woman. The wind from behind the maiden doth blow. A beautiful flower alone has to grow. So on the other side of the snake, we've got a flower. And before I put in the next piece, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the imagery here, because once I put in that last piece, it's going to move to the next part of the puzzle. It might just be because of the tree, but I, for whatever reason, when I was first playing this, was getting strong, like, Adam and Eve vibes from this whole thing. You've got a woman, and you've got a man, and then you've got the serpent. And you could say this is like the tree of life. And got the moon and the sun. There's a lot of biblical stuff in this game, so I wouldn't put it past them for this to be a kind of like sideways reference to Adam and Eve. And we've got, and here comes the man, so sleek and so fine, in the pale moonlight his eyes doth shine. So we've got the woman underneath the tree, the flower underneath the sun, and the man underneath the moon. Day, night, tree. The man doth approach, his blade now revealed, his face disappears behind shining steel. So we're going to move the man over and also flip him over to the sword, because his face disappears behind shining steel. And then we're going to move away from the man doth the maiden flee, towards the flower, away from the tree. Now the woman, if this is the tree of life, the woman is moving out from underneath the tree of life. Where once grew a flower of venomous glee, where once was a maiden, but a stone doth be. And over her grave the man doth remain. His blade never met the vile serpent's vein. The beast to its teeth in her flesh doth bore, he who is failed, she who is no more. Now unto you falls a grievous chore. Who carries blame for what fate had in store? Alright. Big spoiler warning. I'm going to talk about this with spoilers from the major spoilers from the end of the game, because this is the spoiler stream. Johnny, if you don't want to know the story, then I would suggest muting or leaving the stream now, because the whole reason I'm doing the stream is to dig deep into spoilers and stuff. So, this whole puzzle has been revamped for the remake. Initially, it was just find the coins, put them in the right place, and you'll get the key to the next area. For the remake, they have these multiple stages to the riddle to make it a little bit more interesting. And then they have this ending part. The beast to its teeth in her flesh doth bore. he who has failed, she who is no more. So we've got the serpent as the teeth in her flesh doth bore. He who has failed, the man, she who is no more, the woman. Now unto you falls a grievous chore. Who carries blame for what fate had in store? This part of the riddle, you can choose any of these three options and it will complete the puzzle and you'll get the key to room 201. Which coin you choose indicates, it points towards one of the endings that you can get. So I was talking before how initially I was thinking like, oh, this is like, I think even when I played the original game, I was like, this is kind of like an Adam and Eve sort of thing. You've got Adam, Eve, and the serpent. Then we hit this point, I'm like, oh, this also is about James and Mary. And Cleo has her own interpretation of this, which I would recommend you watch her video once she releases it, because I think it's an interesting argument to make. I think, to me, it feels pretty clear that the man is meant to be James, the woman is meant to be Mary, and the serpent is meant to be either her disease or maybe even Maria. I don't think it's meant to be Maria because we haven't met her yet, and the way it talks about the beast being ultimately what killed the woman, I think it's meant to represent Mary's disease. And again, major spoiler, as we all know, by the end of the game, it's actually James who killed Mary. He couldn't deal with her disease anymore, and his feelings towards her had grown very complicated, and so he killed her. We'll dig more into that again as we get further and deeper into the game, because there's so much that can be said about it. So, if you look at these as James, Mary, and the disease, the riddle's asking you, who carries blame for what fate had in store? And it reminds me actually of a puzzle in Silent Hill Shattered Memories, the Wii game we were just talking about. Silent Hill Shattered Memories is really distinctive for having, like, you play the game as Harry Mason wandering through town trying to find Cheryl, but interspersed with those parts in the town are psychological sessions where you're sitting on a couch in a therapist's office and he's giving you different tests that your answers to those tests change the way the game looks. Like, the creatures will change, different areas will be locked off or available to you. And there is a similar thing in one of those psychological sessions where the therapist tells you this story that I think wasn't created specifically for the game. I think it is like a story that people will use as like a philosophical or psychological kind of like thing, kind of like the trolley problem, where it's a story about a princess who's going to be married off to a prince, and she by her father, the king, and she doesn't love the guy, so she decides to try to escape one night, and as she's just trying to escape, she gets mauled by a bull that escaped its pen, or it might have been a wild bull, I can't remember what it is. But basically, it asks you, who is to blame for the woman's death? Is it her father, the king? Is it the woman herself for trying to escape? Is it the man for not releasing her, like the prince for not releasing her from this bond of marriage? Is it the bull for just being like a creature of nature and following its instinct? And in that situation, as in this situation, it's not about there being a right answer. It's about what you choose. Whatever you choose says something about you as a person. And in this case, there are a lot of things that could be said about what it says about the player and their choice that they make on a first playthrough, not knowing the entire story of James and Mary and the disease. But with that knowledge, if you choose the man, you're saying James carries the blame for Mary's death. If you choose the serpent, you're saying ultimately it's the disease that caused this fate. You're saying, like, yes, James killed Mary, but he wouldn't have done that if she hadn't gotten sick in the first place. And then if you choose Mary, you're saying, like, I mean, Mary did treat him pretty horribly while she was sick, and so that created the resentment in James, and that is why he ended up killing her. It's really her fault. I have my own beliefs about this puzzle. I think if you choose James, if you're working with just the main 3 endings of the original game, or the non-New Game Plus version of the game, you choose James, gives you the in-water ending where James drives his car into the lake, and it's basically saying James is most at fault. You say Mary is most at fault, then I'm pretty sure that gives you the Maria ending. If you say the disease is most at fault, then I'm pretty sure that gives you the leave ending. Or it doesn't give you those endings. It contributes points towards those endings because there are other decisions and other things you do in the game to contribute towards those endings. Since I am playing the Stillness ending, which I am thinking of as a sequel to the in-water ending, my choice here doesn't really matter. There are other items that will contribute to the Stillness ending. But because I'm treating this as a sequel to In Water, I think if we're thinking about it as like James has faced the truth about himself and ultimately knows, oh, I am responsible for this, what do I think is most fitting for this ending? So far, the only things that we've gotten are the Key of Sorrow and that note about, like, why haven't they left 201, which I'll look at again before we actually go to 201. Or why hasn't it been cleared out? I can't remember what it said. I think I am going to go with the man. I think that feels the most right for this version of the story. This is right about where we need to be for 950. Why has 201 not been rented out for so long? That's what the question was. There have been so many years since anyone lived there. I know they've never really checked out, but I think it's time to move on now. They're gone. So now looking at this, we've got the creatures in the background. Why has 201 not been rented out for so long? I almost wonder if this is meant to be like a note. If we're seeing Silent Hill through James's eyes, and James has already killed himself in the in-water ending, and so the James that we are now is almost like a specter of sorts, and we're just going through the motions of this loop of this experience. I think what this might be trying to say is, like, we're seeing something from the real Silent Hill. This is like the superintendent at this apartment building saying, why has 201 not been rented out for so long? There have been so many years since anyone lived there. I know they've never really checked out, but I think it's time to move on now. They're gone. I think this is saying, like, something is haunting 201. I think this superintendent is, or landlord, whatever you call it, I think he's musing that the people who lived there previously never really checked out, but they need to move on because they're gone. When we get to 201, you're going to see that there are a lot of things that I don't think Room 201 in Woodside Apartments in Silent Hill is where James and Mary actually lived, but I think it manifests a lot of things from their home, because James is going there. And so in the real Silent Hill, there may be some other person or couple who lived there that maybe there was a tragic end, and so that cast a pall over this room, and that's why no one's gone to rent it out again. Maybe he thinks there's actually ghosts haunting it. And then the resonance there for James is maybe James is that spirit who just can't seem to move on from this situation, this horrible thing, this horrible tragedy that he's experienced, even in death. He can't move on from it. And then on a metatextual level, we can also think of it as why can't players move the fuck on from Silent Hill 2? I don't mean to make light of it, but it felt like a good moment for a little bit of a joke. Because like there have been a lot of criticisms over the years for the Western-made Silent Hill games in particular, that the developers are like, oh, everyone loves Silent Hill 2, so we're going to try and do stuff like that, and it often ends up feeling like a cheap copy. And there are so many contemporary horror video games that point to Silent Hill 2 as such a major influence. So on a meta level, the note might be musing like, why can't people move on from this game? And not even necessarily in like a judgmental way, but it's like, what is it about this story that people keep going back to? And it makes me think of the Orpheus and Eurydice myth again, which I talked a little bit about in the first stream, and like its connections to Silent Hill 2. The makers of the movies really like to think of Silent Hill 2 as an Orpheus and Eurydice story. Orpheus going down into the underworld to retrieve his love, and then having to leave without her. And in Hadestown, the most recent musical adaptation of Orpheus and Eurydice, the last song talks about, why do we keep going back to this tragic story if we know that it's always going to end in tragedy? And in Hadestown, they make the argument, well, maybe it's because we're hoping that it'll turn out differently this time. Me personally, I actually like an earlier version of of Hadestown, where it was like, well, it's a story about someone who tries, and that is something very relatable. But I think both interpretations work. So here's apartment 201. I'm going to be quiet as I enter this room because there it is. Mary's last breath. We heard it again. And the furniture in this room is actually the furniture in Mary's sick room where she died, where James killed her. And we know this because when in the Leave ending, you actually come back to this furniture, at least. The room dimensions are different, but it's still that same bed with the side table and the chair. Flowers on the wall. Health drink. Come on, frame rate. Don't do this to me now. Not when we're right about to end. I've got the red door, and I want it painted black. That grate in the middle being just off center, like off kilter, is such a nice touch. Even this picture almost looks like it's corrupted. This is our gateway to the first Otherworld section. But before we go there, Got the sheet, potentially the sheet that Mary was wrapped in. Yeah, this door doesn't go anywhere. We got a TV. Got a slightly ajar closet door. Got a radio that is actually going to come back in Blue Creek Apartments. I didn't even realize it was the same radio, but one of the clock hands for the clock puzzle. We've got these pictures. Anytime I see something in threes, I'm like, oh, does one of them represent each of the endings? Like, is this the Leave ending, and then the In Water ending, and then the Maria ending or something? But I think this might just be like, oh, clear sailing. Oh, storms are coming. Uh-oh, things went bad. But let's have our first Pyramid Head scene. Do I want to do this right now? Because there's so much to talk about with it, and it's almost 10 o'clock. You know what? I think we might save that first Pyramid Head scene for next stream. Oh, man. Yeah, because there's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about there, and I don't want to do it twice. Actually, no. We'll end with the scene, and then we'll do it again next stream when I reload from the office, because there's too much to talk about here. But I also don't want to end. I don't want to be a tease and not show you that scene. This is new to the remake. This little handkerchief, or whatever it is. And we are going to pick up with that same scene at the beginning of next stream. Thank you everyone so much for hanging out and watching. There was a lot to get through in this session, but I'm glad we were able to get to this point. I've got a lot to say about that scene, but we'll have to save it for next time. Speaking of which, next stream is going to be Wednesday, April 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, daylight savings now, which great, everyone loves it. We yeah. But yeah, so 2 weeks from tonight will be the next stream where we'll be exploring Blue Creek Apartments. I'm going to start with the scene again so that we can talk about like all the stuff that we see and dig more into like what Masahiro Ito has said about the scene and about Pyramid Head in particular. Um, but yeah, until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you'll come back for the next one. If you have missed any of the previous streams, you can go to my YouTube channel, iDoherty451, and I have a playlist with all the videos from the previous streams there if you want to catch up at all. Again, I'm going to plug Cleolinda because half the stuff I remember to talk about in this video are possible because she and I have just been talking back and forth over email for so long, and she's done a ton of research, and it's spurred my own research and helped me figure out what I wanted to talk about in this streaming series. So check her out on Tumblr, Cleolinda, on YouTube, Cleolinda or Cleolinda Jones, I still can't remember. And if you're watching this, Cleo, hi. Hope you're doing all right. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Take care. If you are in the Central New York area, I just remembered another thing. This coming Wednesday, April 26th, my band Mosaic Mind is going to be doing a show at an actual reasonable hour. We are going to be playing a place called Pink Rock Culture Co-op in downtown Syracuse. It's on the corner of Warren and Jefferson, right around the corner from the subway. And we're going to be doing a storytellers concert where we're going to be playing our own music and doing like a VH1 storytellers type thing where we talk about the story behind the song, what went into making the song, and kind of talk about the story of the band through our music up until this point. So if you are in the area and that sounds like something cool to you, that is going to be at, I think doors are at 6:30. The show starts at 7 o'clock. Amanda Rogers, the owner of the Pink Rock Culture Co-op space and a phenomenal singer-songwriter in her own right, she's going to be opening with a half-hour-long set. She may even be performing a song with us, cover, so that's going to be really cool. And then we're going to play the rest of the night from 7:30 or so, playing our own music, and ending at 10 at the latest. So kind of similar to these streams. But yeah, if you're in the area, please check it out. You can check us out on Instagram, Mosaic Mind Band, on Facebook, Mosaic Mind Band. If you go to the link to my website, ian-doherty.com, you'll find links to all that stuff. Yeah, it is 4 minutes past 10, and I gotta stop this stream because I need bed rest since I am still feeling all sniffly. Thank you, Amma. Good to have you again. And thank you again, everyone else who stuck around and watched. Have a good night. Take care. Sleep well. And hope something nice happens to you between now and next stream. And in life in general. I'm going to stop. I'm rambling. Thanks again. Take care. Have a good night.